Hi, in this video we're going to be going over t-tests in Google Sheets. And the first type of t-test that we'll be doing is the paired t-test. Type 1, the paired t-test. Now before we get started, just so you know, I have an idea what a t-test is. It's a way to compare averages, a way to compare means. All right, so here we have a paired t-test and we know it's paired because every set of quiz scores, every pair of quiz scores is related to a single student. So when you have data that is associated with each other in this way, we know that the data is paired. All right, so in order to complete this paired t-test, we're going to start off with the equal sign, and that's how we start every formula. We're going to type t-test, open our parenthesis, and it tells you what you should enter. So the first range is the first set of quiz grades, and we put a comma. The second range is the second set of quiz grades. We put a comma. The third thing that they want us to enter is the number of tails. If they're testing for a difference, if you're testing for a difference in your problem that is 2 tails, if you're testing to see if one thing is greater than or less than the other, that is 1 tail. All right, so since we're testing for a difference, we have to enter 2 tails. And I get more into the details of why that's the case in the video that I'm going to be linking below. All right, and finally, this is type 1, and type 1 is the paired t-test, so I'm going to put 1, close my parenthesis, and enter. And this value is the p-value. If p is less than that stated significance level, we reject H0, we reject the null hypothesis. Since p is not less than 0.05, we fail to reject, which means that this statement is true. There is no significant difference between the quiz grades here and the quiz grades here. All right, so now let's move on to the second type of t-test, which is the two-sample equal variance t-test. And so equal variance just means that the quiz grades or the test grades have a similar spread. So if you take a look at the numbers here, just informally, you can see that the numbers somewhat range from the 70s to the 80s, 90s, 100s. So you can see that they have a similar range. Now, if that variance is equal or approximately equal, we do type 2, which is the two-sample equal variance t-test. So again, we start in the same way. T-test, open parenthesis, highlight, comma, highlight, comma. Again, we're just testing for a difference. So I am going to put 2 for 2 tails. And it is now type 2 because it's two-sample equal variance. And enter. Now notice we have a much smaller number here, and that number is actually less than that stated significance level. So since p is less than the significance level, we reject the null hypothesis. So this is not true. And in this case, there is a significant difference between the test scores in that class and the test scores in this class. So because this value is less than the significance level, we reject this statement and there is a significant difference. All right, so that's type 2. Let's move on to type 3. All right, so for type 3, if you take a quick glance over here, the quiz grades seem to be pretty low in some cases. We have a kid who scored in the 30s, some in the 50s on the left side, but by the time they got to the test, the grades look pretty tight. Most people are in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it looks like the variance here is not equal. The numbers on the left side are way more spread out than the numbers on the right side. So that's why this is type 3, two-sample unequal variance. We start off in the same way with the equal sign. Open parenthesis, highlight my range, comma, highlight my next range, comma, 2 types because we're just testing for a difference, or 2 tails, And this is type 3 because it's unequal variance. And we enter. Now, if you look at the number here, this is a much, much, much smaller number than 0.05, which means that since P is less than the significance level, we are rejecting this statement. And there is a significant difference between quiz grades and test scores. All right, so those were the three types that most people know about, but there is one more type that I do want to show you today, and that's the one sample t-test. Now, if you've learned t-tests in your calculator, you may know how to get that one sample t-test done. However, in Google Sheets, there is nothing for a one sample t-test, but there is a trick that you can use to get this done. All right, so in this case, we are testing to see if there's a significant difference between the test grades, the test average for this class, and the school average of 86. So what we can do is we can have another column here for the school average or the school grades. And we can actually just put 86 for everyone. So I'm going to put 86 in that first row, hover bottom right corner and drag that 86 down. And so now it's going to look like the whole school, everybody got 86. This will work. All right, so in order to now do your t-test, we're going to go equal t-test and range 1, just like we've done 3 times before, comma, range 2, comma, again, we're just testing for a difference. So we enter 2 tails, and in this case, the type is, you can enter either 2 or 3. In this case, I'm going to enter 2 for equal variance, but I could also enter 3 because clearly the numbers here are less spread out. We don't know actually what's happening in the school, so that's why you can choose to enter either. And that will give you a number which is significantly bigger than or significance level, which means that in this case, we are going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. And so in this case, since we're failing to reject, there is no significant difference between the test scores and the school average. So this is true. We're failing to reject it. So this means this is true. All right, so we've gone over every single type of t-test that you can do, and we did it in a record time.